Alrighty folks, so I am back on both Twitch and YouTube. How awesome is this? I'm pretty glad to be here. How do we like the intro and the new scenes that we have here? How do we feel about those? Let's turn this up. There we are. Beats. You like the music? Oh, it's it's feeling pretty good. Now, hopefully, we'll maintain a decent stream. You'll have to bear with me. Hopefully, it won't cut out again. I think I need a new network card in the computer. Excuse me. Perhaps the network card isn't working so well on the motherboard. So we'll see how that goes. But we're back, Thursday night show with Inquisitor Eisenhorn down here. I'm getting really excited to get this guy painted up. But as usual, let me start the show at the top of the show with a big Patreon shout out to my third tier and above Patreons, which is Reese, Wayne, Tim and Chris. Thank you very much. Your names go along the bottom of the screen there. Without you, these shows wouldn't happen at all. So thank you very much for all of that. And don't forget, you can send pictures to me, and you can get them appearing on the show just there. Just send me your pictures, and if you have an Instagram, let me know what it is, and yeah, they'll appear on here. If you don't have an Instagram, don't worry about it. Still, send them to me, and I'll put your name where Instagram tags go. And speaking of sending pictures, you can find them on any of the links that I have around all over the internet, on Facebook, YouTube, now on Twitch, Instagram, as well as over in the top corner, you can't really see it very well, we have the Discord server as well that you can try and use. We don't have a very good, I haven't got any of my commands going, so you can't really put them in the chat. But once that's all set back up again, you'll be able to do that and see in the chat. But most are commonly in the descriptions below. And I'm trying to make sure that all of my platforms have my links as well. And don't forget, if you want to help support the channel, like a lot of other people do, then you can find me on Patreon as well. But other than that, I think that pretty much brings me to the end of the announcements. Feel free, let me know if you think there's some changes that could be done, if you find anything difficult to see, difficult to hear, or just in general, feel free to let me know. I do know that apparently Twitch is much quicker than on YouTube, so if you don't want to have as much lag as there is, you can find on Twitch, as well as apparently Twitch is a little bit better at maintaining video quality. So feel free to use whichever service you want. I'll probably continue to use both, unless of course one ends up being dead. I've noticed that I'm up to 161 subscribers on YouTube now, which is fantastic, and I think I want to start seeing if we can build up a viewership on Twitch as well, and we'll see which one wins out, and if they both stay the same, we'll stay on both of them. So feel free to vote with your viewership. Alright, so, shall we get on? I'm actually, you know what, this is really funny as well, because I'm using a different encoder. This is brilliant. I can now actually control the stream with my phone, which is awesome. So this mouse I can actually get rid of out of the way, rather than having to click. And I'll be able, if I bring this over here, I will be able to go to the show proper, and change the scene. Look at that, how awesome is that? I'm pretty happy with that, so I can make sure that I have my phone handy. Hopefully it won't keep. Hopefully it won't start messing around and causing me problems throughout the show, or beeping, or doing anything else such as that. I did just get a Twitter thing. What's the Twitter thing? I can't even look at see what it is. So if somebody's done something on Twitter that involves me, I can't even see what it is. So. Let me just see what it is. I hope it's not important. That's the thing. I want to make sure it's not important. If I want to bring it up and do a thing. Oh, it's somebody just liked my tweet. So yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. I think it was somebody called Plus. So I'm not. I'm not really sure about that. But anyway. So yes, let's get cracking on. Look at Inquisitor Eisenhorn. Isn't he looking fantastic? I'm really chuffed to bits with the way that this guy is coming along. He is really looking rather spiffing, if I may say so. And much like I promised last week, I was having... Wow, that was really loud. Let's turn that right down. Much like at the end of last week, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in terms of highlighting this guy and trying to get him to show up, to highlight his boots, his legs, sorry. I've chosen to go back with the base coat, and then I will do a small highlight of rust grey. So we will get on with that first thing today, and then I think it's time we start tackling the rest of this body here, because he is looking particularly grey. So I'll remove that for now. We've got a few bits and pieces to do on the legs, and then this is almost done. We'll finish tidying up some of these other final details. We might do that next week, or we'll do it at the end of the show. We're not sure exactly. I know that the rim will be done last, so yeah, we will get cracking on with just getting some of the highlighting done on His Majesty's legs, and we will get on with that. So Chris, how are you doing today anyway? Thank you very much for joining me. You're watching on YouTube, but for some reason, as per usual, my viewer counter has not taken into account YouTube viewers, which is annoying to say the least. It's what always seems to happen. And let us start highlighting some of these ridges on his legs here. And what we'll do is we will come in with the base coat, with the same base coat colour. We'll come in and highlight some of these here, just so that we've got something a little brighter than the washed colour that we have on there at the moment. Now anybody who watches this later or comes in or may have noticed, I've been very, very quiet on the social media at the moment. I haven't really done a lot of painting. I really wanted to get live a bit more, but unfortunately I have been nursing what I think is a bit of an injury in my hand. I seem to have developed either an RSI or I've pulled a muscle in my hand. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but every time I pinch my fingers together and put any pressure through the pinch, it really hurts. So unfortunately I've had to rest up with painting. I haven't got anywhere near as much painting done as I wanted to. In fact, I haven't done anything yet today until I did this live show, trying to rest it up as best as I can. It's very, very painful, and come the end of the show I might be in a bit of pain as well. So yeah, that's how I am at the minute, is nursing a bit of a poorly hand, which is not ideal, especially when you're trying to make a living painting and you can't do the thing that you want to do. I've lost half of my brushes. Hang on, just bear with me a second. As per usual, I don't tidy up when I'm done painting. So I've just done a bit of highlighting with the Skegadon Scale Green. So I'm going to pop in the rust grey into the palette, and I'm hoping it's not going to be too stark of a difference, which I think it might be actually. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to try a bit of layering. So I said I was going to start doing this a bit more. So what I'm going to do is, can I bring my palette to the right place here? Here we go. So this is the palette, and over here we have the Skegadon Stale Green and the Rust Grey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of the green, or that's what it says it's called anyway. I'll wash that, and over here I'll get a little bit of the Rust Grey. Now what I'm going to try and do is use a bit of a different brush to do this. So I'm going to drag the Rust Grey, the Skegadon Stale Green, and I'm going to drag it across till just before I touch the Rust Grey. And then what I'm going to try and do is get the Rust Grey and bring it this way. And then hopefully what that's going to do, going to give me a slight blend. It kind of mingles between the two. And then, where did I put his legs? Here. So over here is straight up Skegadon Scale Green. Skegadon Scale Green. So I'm going to come somewhere in the middle. I load up my brush. This paint here. There doesn't seem to be a huge amount of it, but should be enough for me to then come along and layer that up on some of these raised edges. So separate from sort of painting in the middle of where I just painted the base coat back on to highlight. Now I don't know how well this shows up on camera, and I do apologise if it doesn't really show up very well. I'm still taking the paint from the centre here. Something like that, and then without cleaning the brush I'm going to come over to the Rust Grey. So I still have a little bit of this Skegadon Green on the brush, and then I'm just going to go along the most sharpest of edges. Kind of a little bit of a layer, not much of a transition because it's so small. Hopefully it'll be enough to kind of give us a little bit. Yeah, like I said, these Thursday night shows is all about me trying things I've never done before, and now admittedly I have tried doing that before, but never 100% happy with the result. So I will try and do it as often as I can, and I think that gives me a reasonably good good result. So yeah, hopefully you can see that. I know that YouTube has been not brilliant in terms of keeping the quality of the video up. So I do apologise if that doesn't really show up as well as I want it to. But I think that gives us a really nice transition between the highlights and the shadows there. And it looks pretty good from my end, so yeah, that's good enough. So what I need to do is, I did leave out some washing last week. Let me just grab this and grab a some of this metal here. We did some of this last week just to add some colour to the model, and this week I'm just going to give it a wash. We might go around and just pick out some highlights on this later. Like so. Alright. So, I'm hoping everything's in focus as well. I was looking at a new camera because I do want to I want to get this this shot looking a bit better. I ran out of focus, so I've pulled up focus just a little bit more. There we are. Sound quality ain't so good on YouTube. Yeah, unfortunately, the trouble is what I did was I've changed the encoder, and then because of it, I've lost some quality. So if I change something, I'm going to add a noise gate to this. Let me know, does that help at all? Let me know if that helps. Unfortunately, I need to spend a good couple of days going through sound quality and basically recording myself while I mess around with settings. Basically, play it back. Works. Fortunately, what I just did there, did it make it any better or worse? Let me know. I need to turn this a bit because look, there you are. Gold. I already have a lot of gold on there, but it's not doing it in terms of keeping it wet. I am also in the process actually of looking to get a new mic. Mentioned before, my financial situation is just about to get a little bit different. Might be able to more of an effort to improve the equipment I do have. Hopefully, mic soon. Might be able to grows on some of the sound quality as well, which I mean, sound is quite important in terms of keeping you people watching. I said to a couple of people who've spoken to me about YouTube, I've always said visuals you can get away with not having the quality as you would like, but bad sounds will turn people away. I very much believe in that. So you can only fix one thing at once. Right on the sound. Bad visuals doesn't matter much. can hear what you're talking about. So I appreciate it, let me know. Clears the static noise off, but the noise gate kind of cuts out quiet noise. Ah, that's excellent. That's perfectly fine. I want to have a look at my filters. Look at the noise gate. At the close threshold. I don't know. Let's just put that right down to nothing. And again, let me know if that helped, or if I should go the other way. And like I said, if I want to get the sound right, because I believe that with good sound, you can be forgiven some of your bad visuals. So I fully appreciate any feedback from anyone. Right. I do remember that before I changed all of the I prefer this now. There is very little. There just is a very little static. Absolutely fantastic. All right. Well, that's fantastic. Perhaps the noise gate is the noise suppression is gain. Gain is up high. Gate is. I wonder if I can. Gain, noise, compressor. Don't know if compressor is going to help. I don't know if compression helps. I have no idea. You see, I don't understand sound very well. What I tended to do was I recorded myself just making changes one at a time, and then when I found a change that I liked, I just stuck with it. So I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing when it comes to sound, but hopefully it's better and we can live with what we've got. Okay, so we're going to come in with a little bit of Dawnstone now. Now I have no idea how long this project's going to last, but I'm hoping to get a decent headway into getting this guy kind of closer to being finished than what he was when we started the show in. There are some bits and pieces I want to get done. Hopefully we can get nice and close to seeing what this thing's going to look like finished, hopefully by the end of the show tonight, but we will see. Depends on how my wrist hold out. I can feel it twinging on me. So what I'm going to do now is use some Dawnstone just to highlight the I don't know if that's supposed to be gold. I'm not even sure what it is, to be fair. Move highlight along the buckles and things that he has adorning his body. It's this kind of painting that really hurts my hand at the minute. So I'm hoping to kind of get this bit done reasonably quickly, so I can move on to a much lighter touch when it comes to the base coating. I need to maintain quite such a steady hand. I'll be happy with that. Yeah. Right, let's have a gander at the art. I think that's actually supposed to be a looking. Where's the box? Over here. Let's have a look at the box here. I think that's actually supposed to be silver going right the way across his chest there. You'll see. So I think we'll paint that later. So what we can do now is I want to start moving on to this bit, which to start with is nice and simple because we can remove the blue tack, and I just lost his arm. That's fantastic. Right. To be fair, that had broken off. I kept pushing on the back of the model. Where did I put his? Where did I put my blue? That's super glue. Well, this is helpful. Okay, right, well I'll have to re-glue that another time. Right, let's just move this palette out of the way because it's really getting in the way now. Right. Let's get rid of this. Okay, dokie, so the inside of, I can see on here where the primer is. It doesn't show up particularly well on camera. It's still white, and then we have the grey of the primer, the white of the resin. So I can pretty much just come straight in over most of this with the red. Once the red is finished of the inside of this coat, he can then be glued together, and he can stay together for the rest of the painting process, which is kind of handy. This is kind of what I've been wanting to get to, which is a model completely put together, which will be helpful in terms of painting, trying to maintain a steady paint job. Now we can bring this up here, and we can see that that will go together quite nicely. And you can see once that's, whoops, see where it touches there, which means it's going to be covered up because it's touching. And once that is in place there, we can see that that's going to be much easier to paint because I've done everything that you can't see, or sorry, I've done everything you can see, and then anything you can't see doesn't need painting. And that also means that there's going to be bare resin attached to bare resin, because obviously I glued this together before priming it, or I blue tacked it together before priming it. So that of course will be much useful. I don't even know what I'm saying today. and then it broke off, but I'll do the let me just do the inside of this as well. This is the inside of this arm here. That will also be red, and we can do some tidying up either later on in this show or next show. Speaking of the next shows, we do have already planned the next project, but as always I am open to suggestions, so feel free to throw suggestions out whenever they come to you. And if you become a Patreon, you also help decide exactly what the next project will be. I think the camera's a little bit closer than what it normally is, so I'll keep clipping it. So I apologise for that as well. Like I said, everything has changed recently. Everything has been rearranged. New computer program, new setup, streaming to both YouTube and Twitch all at the same time. I do think that my Discord bot didn't actually announce it, which it should have done. But yeah, that's Discord bot's way. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I think I will come in with some colours. We need to wait for that to dry so I can wash it. I'm going to come in with some colours for this guy. We've got a little devil's head down here, which is kind of cool. So I want to start building up some colour on that. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to turn that into like an actual red head or anything. I want to kind of give it a statuesque kind of look. So we have on here already, it has a very stone kind of feel to it. Abaddon. Everybody wants Abaddon. Well, so I don't want to turn this into a red skull. I kind of want it to stay stony, but I also want it to kind of be a red stone. So we have already the stone look, and all I'm going to do is gradually add a few layers of glaze to this. Somebody's tagging me in something. What have I been tagged in? Is that okay? Well, that's not what I need. Okay. So we have some bloodletted glaze, and what I'm going to do is I'll put that onto the palette as well, and ever so gently, in lots of layers. We can do this in lots of layers. We don't want to just start layering this stuff on like we would paint. I'll make sure it's nice and thin, and we will glaze this a few times with this bloodletted glaze. Pretty much the same thing we did with the Inquisitor logo on the base already. So we'll just layer up plenty of layers of this glaze. It's virtually transparent paint. So it should maintain that stone kind of effect that we've got on there with the dry brushing that we've already done, but will also allow me to change the colour of it so that it looks like a red stone. Once that dries, I may find that I only need one coat of this stuff, because I am just tinting the surface to be a different colour. Like that. So we might just leave that as it is. But staying with the base, we do have, where's me Balthazar gold, because we have some shell casings on the base there. the palette. And pick out these shell casings in this here. As well, to get to. Right. Right. And that really hurts. Okay. Lead belcher, where's that? There. Well, we have some rebar, or whatever it is, just poking out the side here, which we will pick out in lovely lead belcher. Just buried amongst the what did I put on the base here? Was it baking powder? No, it wasn't, was it? I've forgotten what I put on the base of this model now. I know I did something. Completely forgotten. You see that actually, now that we've been talking, the that skull has now dried. And he's looking marvellously red, so I'm quite happy about the way that that's turned out. Don't need to do too much with that. And the red over here has pretty much dried, so what I can do now is I'm going to come in with the Nuln oil, and we need to wash that as well. Like the base, good job, thank you very much. It's he's coming along nicely. I mean, I don't tend to do the bases before the rest of the model usually. Normally the base is the last thing to be done, but I just think that the way that this model is constructed, and the way that you want to paint him, or it makes sense to paint him, it lends itself to doing the base first. Which is certainly throws your comfort zone out of the window a little bit. Yeah, especially when you're so used to doing something in a certain way. It can throw you a little bit. I'll just pop on some Nuln oil on here. Hopefully we'll be able to highlight that in just a few minutes. We'll see how it's going. My wrist is starting to twinge a bit, so we don't know. I don't know how long I'll be able to carry on, but we will continue for as long as we can. in with some regular flesh shade. I'll keep popping around these models backwards and forwards a little bit, just so that I'm always painting. So sometimes I'll move on from a piece of the model and hop around on the colours, just because if I painted in an order that makes more sense, I might have to stop painting for a bit while I'm waiting for wash and things to dry. So I mean, on the upside, you know, he's coming together pretty quickly. It's just it can be a little bit difficult just to keep up with what we're painting where and why. And we're just popping back in with some non-oil on the base now. Just popping a bit of non-oil along that rebar that we have here. Oil up those shell casings as well. Kind of not so much to wash the shell casings themselves, but when it pulls around the not pulls so much, but when it gathers a little bit around the base of the bullet, it kind of adds a bit of shadow. The casings themselves are so small, we're not going to bother highlighting them and doing things like that, because it just doesn't seem any point. But if we can darken where they're actually touching the base, kind of adds just that little bit of shadow to it, and just adds to that level of detail that we're building up here. So I am pretty happy with the way that that's coming together now. There's not really a lot left to do on the base. So what I'm going to do now is, we're still waiting for the non-oil to dry here. Might take a little bit to dry, especially that deep recess just there. I'll bring that up. It's pooling just a little bit, so I will grab some of that out. But I don't want to take it all away either. And we have some really interesting something going on here. I'm going to try, there's if we have a look now, this is something I really have never done before, but if we have a look at his shoulder pads in the book here, we have this fade from Incubi Darkness up to I've forgotten what it is now. It says on the back here, we have Incubi Darkness, Calibite Green, Sybarite Green, and then White Scar. Now the White Scar itself is more this bit here, this kind of shine coming across, but I'll keep hitting the camera. Those greens there are definitely the fade. Now you could feather that to go from the Incubi Darkness around to Sybarite Green along the front, and you can kind of feather it. But what I'm going to try and do is, I'm going to try and layer it and possibly try and blend it just a little bit. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. Not in the slightest is that going to be easy. But a nice challenge nonetheless, I think. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pretty much do what I did for his trousers, just on a slightly bigger scale here. So I'm going to get some of the three colours, I'm going to try and blend them together, and we're going to see what happens. So you could just bear with me just half a tick, and generally if I just leave you for half a second, and you can watch that paint dry. sorry about that. It's so windy outside. I could have sworn I heard somebody knocking on my door. It's not. It's the wind knocking the letterbox. So yes, we're gonna try and do this fade thing going on here. So what I'm going to do is, I have a big lump of blue tack here because I am still waiting for the cape to dry, and so I'm not going to be able to glue him to the model. So I'm going to use this piece of blue tack here, and I will attempt to try and show you what I'm doing in the palette as well. So if I can bring the palette across, let's get rid of these paintbrushes out of the way. And we are going to be down here on the palette, somewhere around here I think. There we go. Ah, there we go. And then I can bring him in there if I use the palette here. Right. So, Incubi Darkness is the first colour. So I want to get a nice big brush. And so I am going to get a nice generous dollop of Incubi Darkness on the palette here. And I'm going to be generous with it. I know I don't need anywhere near that much, but yeah, we need to be generous here. The next one I needed was Calabyte Green. So I'm going to use the same brush, ow, and then I will add a nice dollop of that there. So we're going to leave a bit of gap, add a nice dollop there, and then the last one was Sybarite Green. Try and open that up as well, and add a dollop of that. So see, we have a really nice triad of colours going on there. I know it almost looks turquoise in the light, but I wonder if we can bring that a little bit closer to, if we brought that a little bit closer to the camera, you can see those three colours. And so what I'm going to do is, I have a nice wet brush, and I am going to start by bringing this colour this way, and I'm making sure I've got plenty of it there. And then I'm going to go halfway through this colour, because I still need some to go that way as well. So I'm going to go halfway through this colour, and I'm going to take it this way, making sure I've got plenty of it going that way, and then blend it that way. There we go. Is that kind of working? Maybe I could bring some of this back this way as well. There we go, look at that. You see, we have a bit of a blend going on in there. I'm pretty happy with that, especially at this top side here. So I might take the paint from that side. And then essentially I want to do the same thing going this way. So I'll bring the Calabyte Green this way. Grab the Sybarite Green, making sure I leave some clean Sybarite Green behind, and then blend it that way as well. And we kind of want to clean that bit up there. Don't have as much of a blend in the center there as I would like, but we definitely have a bit of a blend going on there, like that. So I'm kind of happy with that. So that's the basis of what I'm trying to do. So the first thing I want to do is So I'm going to get the, you know what, I can use this brush that I used to mix it all. I'm going to start with the darker colour here, and I will basically just coat. Now, so in the strictest sense, I'm not really going to be wet blending this. It's more layering. But I think if I'm going to start learning how to wet blend, the first thing I need to do is learn how to layer properly. So we're going to start with the darker colour here, and then I'm going to start adding layer upon layer of the lighter colours, moving along. This is why we've done it this way. I'll move along the colours as we move along, and hopefully I'll be able to build up that fade reasonably well. I don't know how well this is in focus. This is a really small part of the model. There we go. So what I've done there, it's really transparent as well. It's really thinned down, so I might have to wait for that to dry. There's a little bit of cigarette green that's not thinned down quite so much over here. This is what I was kind of worried though, is that this may take some time to get this bit right. Very thin paint, which is good, but it could also mean that it takes an absolute age to dry. So I'm going to move along just a little bit here, so we still have plenty of inky darkness into the mix here, and then I'm going to try here we go, see if we can layer this down. And I think that is so wet it's just going to mix in, so I think I'm going to have to wait for that to dry, because I'm pooling paint. This is something I've never done before. The paint itself is pooling in the recesses, so the paint is so thin it's like a wash. So it definitely needs to dry a bit. So doesn't help I was using a really wet brush as well, so I was just constantly adding water to the mix. So let me just pull some of that off. Otherwise I'll never get a decent finish on that. So attempt number one, not brilliant, but we will try again in a few minutes time. I'll get a drier brush and try not wash the model with paint. There you go. That's how thin that paint was. I pretty much just took it all off with a brush. So let's use a drier brush here. We'll start from the beginning again. The brush is pretty dry, so I shouldn't be adding too much water to the mix, and we will add this to that. Just like this. Blue tack's not holding the model very well either, which is not ideal. this over here. And funnily enough, the red is now dry as well, which isn't ideal. I can't be layering that up as well as trying to do this at the same time, because that would be just ridiculous trying to layer up two different blends at the same time. So this is much better. The paint is a bit thicker now. So what I'm going to do now is I will come over to the slightly greener paint. I'm not going to start washing. I'm not going to wash the brush. I think that was the issue. I was washed the brush and it was just far too much paint, far too much water being added to the paint. Bit to slightly greener area. I suppose I am. I mean, I'm keeping the paint wet before I'm adding the next bit. I suppose this is slightly wet blending, but I am worried I'm adding too much paint, too thick. There is a balance between getting a wet blend and just layering on thick paint. So I hope the paint is thin enough. But this is, again, this is what I keep saying about this show. It's all about me learning these things. So I mean, I'm going to empty the brush and then move on to the next colour. And we'll see how this works. I really hope this kind of works. I really do. We'll see how it shows up in the end. So, you know, I'm still adding paint to wet paint. So am I wet blending or wet layering? I don't know. I know wet blending is supposed to really go backwards and forwards a bit, but I'm really going backwards and forwards. So we'll see. You're kind of laughing because you know your pain. I'm trying to master wet blending. I've kind of had it working. There's definitely a huge amount of skill involved in with these techniques. Yeah, I agree. But at the end of the day, if you can't, you know, I can't make these kind of mistakes on my best models. You know what I mean? I don't mind trying these things. And I just went and rinsed the brush out, didn't I? Hopefully I've cleaned out most of the water. Yeah, there's definitely some very intense skill work going on. Trying to learn these things. I'm not quite wet blending perfectly, but I think I'm kind of doing a really basic version of wet blending. But I suppose we'll see how it looks when it's done. You know, we could end up finding that I've got a massive ridge of really thick paint and no detail. But you know, we'll see how it looks. Let's try and get some paint from the centre here, where these two colours are mixed, and see how this goes on here. I think we're definitely getting up to the centre here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that as it is. I might be able, if I get my really skinny brush, I might be able to just get some of this in the centre here. Across the shoulder blades there. I'm a bit worried, basically, in this top corner here, where I've been brushing across I'm a bit worried that I've layered paint up too high there. I'm going to lose detail. But paint shrinks when it dries, so you know, maybe when the moisture evaporates I'll find out that actually I've done a pretty good job, and we will see how it looks. It's definitely not quite the transition that we have on the box art, but yeah, we'll see how it looks, see what happens. You know, at the end of the day, you know, that's what learning new skills is all about. So we're definitely gonna leave that as it was, and I tell you what we'll do is we'll do the same kind of thing, and I will do. I think I'm just going to try simple 2 colours this time for the red. So I'm going to come back in with the Mephiston red base, and I think I'm going to come in with Jacaro orange rather than a layer paint, rather than Fire Dragon Bright or something. So we'll see how those two come together. I think we'll be alright. So again, I'll come across and bring this across here. And then I'll bring that across this way, and we will see how those two blend together along here. Is that going to work? Yeah, I think that kind of works. I found getting the colours on roughly first and let it dry, then go back and build on top of that. Then a little glaze at the end to settle the transitions. Now that sounds like a really good idea, and yeah, maybe we'll do that next week. For now, of course, we will come in with the red of Mephiston red. I'm pretty sure it was a Mephiston red that I started with, and I will come in with this, ignoring that there. That might be a good idea with this as well. We'll come in with this and layering over with a maybe a wash. A bloodletter can be a little bit bright for my opinion as a glaze, but I might come over with a wash. I do tend to use washes as glazes sometimes as well, to help soften transitions up. Strictly speaking, it's not what they're there for, but they kind of do that job. And so do that down here. Sorry, I do realise I'm just painting this completely off of camera. Definitely an incorrect puddle of wash. So we'll just paint over that whole area there. here. Oh no! Oh, we're good. We're good. It's fine. It's fine. A little bit of a thing going on down here though, which is unfortunate. I think we might just about got away with that. I think if I grab a wet brush and just get rid of that down here. Hang on. Get rid of some of that water. Maybe I'll get away with that. We'll see. Maybe I'll take that idea of glazing it and we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. Thanks for that tip though. It's a really good idea. I hadn't thought about doing that. Oh, come on. This is my wrist playing up now, you see. I haven't got any strength in my pinch. So I can't maintain a grip. You just screamed for me there. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I think I might have got away with it. It's, yeah, I've got no strength in my grip now. So see how we get along. Right, now we're getting into the proper orange. I need to make sure I maintain a decent line going through some of these highlights going on here. I don't think I really need to go proper full orange on this. I don't think there's any need for it. I think I'll do the edges again another time. And likewise with his sleeves, I'm just going to edge highlight those sleeves without blending it. I think I just wanted to practice doing some blends, especially towards the bottom of the cloak here, where they kind of meet the model. Now most of what I've just done is just going to disappear. So yeah, we're happy with that. So I've got some glaze still on the pot. There's this little wiggle over here. I was going to do a wash, but let's see what this does. I'm pretty happy with the way that some of those transition goes. The orange is a bit bright. If I was going to be overly critical of it, but on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the way that that's gone. So we'll glaze over that with bloodletter. Like that. See what happens when that has dried, and we'll have a quick look over at this here, which now that that's dry, if I bring this right up to the camera and give you a really good look at the way that this has, where's my focal point there? Where is it there? I'm pretty happy with the way that that's come out, to be fair. I mean, that one, the line up to the brightest point is quite sharp, that last one there, but on the whole I think I'm quite happy with the way that that's gone. I think that could have gone a lot worse, and I think I'm going to leave that there, because at the end of the day, you know, if I can see where I can change it, if I went over that again now and goes, I'm not really, you know, and I kind of basically cover up what I've just done, I'm not so sure I'm going to learn anything from it. Whereas once I look at that when it's finished, I can see where I've gone wrong or where I've improved. Likewise with the cloak here, I think I'm going to leave it exactly where it is, in terms of what I'm doing with it. Let's bring that back into focus here. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So, if I knew where my super glue was, I would glue that onto the model now. But on the whole, I'm not sure where my glue has gone. Does anybody see my glue? Yes, I know, I understand. That was a rhetorical question. I have a super glue pen around here somewhere. That's not too bad, mate. Well, thank you very much indeed. Not too bad for, you know, maybe the second or third time of trying some blending, and certainly it was a different way of blending of what I've done in the past. I've tried blending and layering a couple of different times, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way that's turned out, and I'm still looking for my super glue, which seems to have literally vanished. And we're coming up to the hour and a half, and I think it's you can see it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm coming up to the hour and a half mark of the show. So I think I'm going to call it there. We've just done some decent blending here. If we just press this back to the model now, we don't quite have the look of where this model is headed just yet. Was what I was hoping, especially considering he's lost another arm by the end of the show. But I'll get that glued back on. Next week we'll get some of the we'll get the black done, and we may even blend that as well, just to really try and, you know, really try and get some stuff done, really try and show off. No, not show off, but really try and get that practice in next week. And like I said, my hand is it's pretty painful, really. It's difficult trying to maintain a grip when every time you press you get shooting pains going right the way through your hand. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for joining me tonight. I think you've pretty much been my only viewer, and that one viewer on Twitch, that was me. So yeah, Twitch does apparently look better than YouTube, so we'll see how that goes in the future. But yeah, feel free, if you watch this in the future, like Chris did, gave me an idea about, you know, glazing over the model where you've blended. Rate what I did today. You know, feel free, have a look at what I did. If you've got an idea about how you could do it differently, or how I could have done it differently, feel free. Share the information around. This is definitely a new skill that I'm learning. I do try and blend some things together, but on the whole, I tend to dry brush these sorts of things because it's just so much quicker, but it does leave that kind of dusty look. And what I might try and do with this guy is I'm blending the layers of the cloth so that I can dry brush it with dust, and so that there's a very different feel between the two. So we'll see how he turns out towards the end. As well, don't forget, in the future, feel free, comments below to give me your ideas and future projects that I do on a Thursday. The next project has already been decided. Me and the Patreons have kind of had a discussion, and we pretty much know what's going to happen next. And there's a few models on the list of things that are going to get done on a Thursday. It depends. If you're a Patreon, you can help decide in what order those things get done on that list, as well as when new models coming out, some things can leapfrog the list altogether. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that when we get this guy finished. What I'm hoping might only be a few more weeks. We're going to have to see how he turns out. I was hoping to get a bit more done today, but you know, rest is really not having much of it. So there we have it. So yeah, feel free, comments below, and let me know what you think about what we've done. Don't forget to check out the links below if you're watching on YouTube. I think you can find most of the links in Twitch as well. Keep an eye out over my social media over the next couple of weeks as I get things kind of in order, and with the command console working as well. And maybe some of this might change around. If you've got any comments about that, feel free to throw them up there as well. So, other than that, Chris, thank you very much for joining me today, and I will be back on Monday with the next Conquest magazine show, which will be issue number 22, I think. So feel free to join me on Monday, and don't forget, keep an eye out if you haven't already subscribed or followed. If you're on Twitch, keep an eye out for my random ad hoc shows where I just throw on the cameras and paint whatever I'm painting. But there hasn't been much of those, but wrist as usual. But hopefully, if that starts getting better, those shows will start happening more often as well. Alright, so I think that pretty much rounds the end of the show off. I've enjoyed painting this guy. I'm going to enjoy next week as well, and I will be back on Monday. Alright, so thank you for watching this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, ta-ra.